In relationships, there's a toxic dynamic that many fall into without realizing it, a game of push-pull. It's a pattern that might look like love, but in reality, it's a trap designed to manipulate and control. 1 minute, you're the center of someone's universe. Her words are sweet, her touch electrifying, and everything feels like it's exactly where it should be. You think you've found what you've been searching for, a spark of connection that promises warmth and affection. But then, in the blink of an eye, it changes. The fire is suddenly gone, leaving you in a cold, barren place, desperately searching for something that no longer exists. She vanishes without a trace, like smoke in the wind, and you're left standing there, confused and uncertain. What just happened? Was it something you said? Did you do something wrong? Is this some kind of test? The emotional tornado hits, and now you're stuck in a storm of doubt and self-questioning. Why is she pulling away? Why does she act like this? You feel like you're chasing something, but it's always just out of reach. No matter how much you give, no matter how hard you try to decode her actions, you find yourself caught in a cycle that never seems to end. This isn't love. This is manipulation. A game where 1 minute you're the most important thing to her, and the next you're nothing. It's not a relationship, it's a test, a game of emotional control. The problem is, you've been playing into it. You've been chasing after affection that's never truly there. And the worst part, you've been letting this chaos dictate your emotions and your sense of self-worth. But it doesn't have to be this way. You don't have to play by her rules. The moment you stop chasing the illusion, you take back control. It's time to stop letting someone else's emotional roller coaster control your life. This is where the Stoic mindset comes in. Number 1, misalignment of expectations. In any relationship, one of the most common pitfalls is the misalignment of expectations. This is the silent destroyer, the slow poison that seeps in unnoticed, yet undermines everything it touches. When two people come together, whether it's a romantic partnership, a friendship, or even a professional connection, they bring with them their own desires, hopes, and ideas of what they want the relationship to be. However, if these expectations aren't communicated clearly or aren't aligned, conflict is almost inevitable. What one person sees as love, commitment, or loyalty can look entirely different to the other. One might assume that because they're putting in effort, the other person will respond in kind, but the truth is, the other person might have different needs, different desires, or a different way of expressing affection. The issue isn't that either party is wrong per se, but that they're simply on different pages. This misalignment is especially dangerous because it creates an illusion of connection without true understanding. On the surface, everything might seem fine. There's attraction, there's chemistry, there are shared experiences. But underneath, there's a deep divide. The person who is unaware of this misalignment might continue to invest emotionally, believing that the relationship is progressing as they expect it to. Meanwhile, the other person might be silently pulling away, feeling suffocated, misunderstood, or pressured by the expectations placed on them. For example, one person may believe that the relationship is heading toward exclusivity and long-term commitment, while the other might be content with something casual or fleeting. Or one person might expect frequent communication and emotional openness, while the other prefers space and values independence. The more this misalignment grows, the more frustration builds, as neither person's needs are being fully met. One partner feels ignored, unloved, or unsupported, while the other feels trapped or smothered, not realizing that the tension arises from unmet expectations rather than a lack of care. The misalignment of expectations doesn't just create frustration, it erodes trust. When you expect something from someone and they fail to deliver, it triggers feelings of disappointment, rejection, and betrayal. You start questioning their intentions, wondering why they aren't meeting you halfway, or why they don't seem to care as much as you thought. Likewise, the other person may feel blindsided, feeling that their own needs are being disregarded, but they often don't know how to communicate that without adding more fuel to the fire. They don't want to hurt you, but they're also not sure how to bridge the gap between what you want and what they're willing or able to give. This cycle of silent disappointment leads to a slow unraveling of the relationship. Misalignment breeds insecurity, and insecurity leads to a lack of connection. The real danger here is that misalignment of expectations can be so subtle at first that it's easy to ignore. It's easy to tell yourself, things will get better, or we'll work through this. But if the expectations continue to go unmet, the emotional distance becomes too wide to bridge. The resentment builds, and eventually the relationship begins to crumble. The key to avoiding this fate is communication. Honest, open conversations about what both partners truly want from the relationship, what they need, what they expect, and what they're willing to give, are critical. You can't avoid these conversations in the hopes that things will simply fall into place. Relationships thrive when there's mutual understanding, when both people feel heard, and when there's alignment in what they want from each other. Without it, you're just two people walking down different paths, thinking you're headed toward the same destination, but ending up worlds apart. Number 2, valuing convenience over connection. In today's fast-paced world, where instant gratification is often just a click away, many people have adopted the habit of valuing convenience over genuine connection. This mindset, though it might seem harmless on the surface, can have devastating effects on relationships, whether they are romantic, platonic, or professional. It's easy to fall into the trap of prioritizing what's easiest, what feels comfortable, or what requires the least amount of effort. But the danger lies in the fact that relationships, at their core, require time, energy, and vulnerability to truly flourish. When convenience becomes the primary factor in how you approach someone or a situation, you inadvertently put up barriers to deeper emotional connections, leaving both parties feeling empty and unfulfilled. In romantic relationships, valuing convenience often shows up in the form of surface-level interactions, avoiding difficult conversations, or opting for quick fixes instead of addressing core issues. A person may choose to text or message rather than pick up the phone and have a heartfelt conversation. While texting might be faster, it's often impersonal and can easily lead to misunderstandings, leaving one or both people feeling disconnected. Similarly, when it comes to resolving conflicts, convenience may push individuals to avoid confrontation or sweep issues under the rug, rather than engage in honest, uncomfortable conversations that are necessary for growth. The problem is that by choosing the convenient route, the depth of emotional intimacy and the understanding that builds a strong connection is lost. What starts as a quick exchange of words or actions can evolve into a pattern where both partners are physically present but emotionally distant, only going through the motions instead of engaging at a real, human level. In friendships, valuing convenience over connection can be seen when people only reach out when it's easy, when it fits into their schedule, or when it doesn't require them to be vulnerable or truly present. This can lead to friendships that are more transactional than genuine, where individuals are more concerned with what they can get out of the relationship rather than fostering a meaningful bond. The friend who only shows up when it's convenient might leave you questioning whether they value you for who you are or simply because they want something from you. Over time, this type of connection erodes trust and leads to feelings of loneliness, even in the company of others. A relationship based on convenience is not built on mutual respect or care. It's built on a sense of obligation or self-interest, which ultimately leads to disappointment. In professional settings, this mentality can also be problematic. Employees or colleagues who prioritize convenience over connection may focus only on doing the bare minimum, avoiding the tough discussions that could lead to innovation or growth. It becomes easier to go along with the status quo than to challenge ideas, collaborate deeply, or invest in fostering a culture of genuine connection and teamwork. When convenience is the driving factor, real opportunities for growth, both personal and professional, are missed, and everyone remains stuck in a cycle of mediocrity. The core issue with valuing convenience over connection is that it leads to relationships that lack substance. A relationship based on convenience is like a house built on sand. There's nothing solid to hold it up when the storms of life come. Without effort, authenticity, and a willingness to show up even when it's inconvenient, a relationship will inevitably weaken. True connection comes from being willing to invest in each other, even when it's hard, even when it requires you to be vulnerable or uncomfortable. It means making the effort to connect on a deeper level, to communicate openly, and to be present, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's difficult. Number 3, your worth is unbreakable. One of the most powerful truths you can hold on to in life is the unwavering knowledge that your worth is unbreakable. No matter what happens in your relationships, your career, or your personal experiences, the core of who you are remains solid, resilient, and valuable. This concept is rooted in self-awareness and self-love, and it is a mindset that, once fully embraced, will transform how you move through the world. Understanding that your worth is not dependent on external factors is a game changer. Too often, people attach their sense of value to others' perceptions of them, whether it's based on appearance, achievements, or how they are treated by others. The mistake here is that this external validation is temporary, and when it fluctuates, it can make you feel less than or unworthy. This leaves you vulnerable, constantly seeking approval, and in a constant battle for self-esteem. But your worth was never meant to be contingent on someone else's opinion or on an ever-changing environment. When you come to the realization that your worth is inherent and unshakable, your mindset shifts completely. You start to see yourself as valuable, regardless of the circumstances. This doesn't mean you stop striving for growth, improvement, or success, but rather, it means that those efforts are not done out of a need to prove your worth to anyone. Instead, they are driven by a desire to grow into the best version of yourself because you already know that you are enough just as you are. It's about shifting your focus from validation to self-empowerment. No one can take away your intrinsic value, no matter what they say or do. If someone walks away from you, if someone doesn't appreciate you, or if someone tries to diminish your worth, it doesn't define who you are. In fact, their inability to see your value only highlights the truth that your worth is beyond their understanding. Their rejection or criticism is not a reflection of your true worth. It's simply a reflection of their limitations. A Stoic mindset reinforces this truth, teaching you that external events and people's actions are outside of your control, but your response to them is entirely within your power. When you adopt this philosophy, you stop giving others the power to dictate how you feel about yourself. This is where real freedom lies, when you no longer feel at the mercy of someone else's approval or disapproval. You become self-sufficient in your sense of worth, and this shifts everything about how you engage with the world. You stop bending over backward to gain the affection or approval of people who don't truly see you for who you are. You learn to stand firm in your worth, knowing that it is unbreakable, no matter what happens in your relationships, your career, or even within yourself. People who truly understand their unshakable worth become magnetic. They don't have to chase others or prove their value. They simply attract what's aligned with their energy. This is because people sense the power of self-respect and self-love, which is contagious. They understand that to respect others, they must first respect themselves. When you understand that you are worthy of love, success, and respect, you stop tolerating anything less. You don't settle for toxic relationships, manipulative behavior, or opportunities that don't honor your true potential. You begin to expect more from life because you know you deserve it. Ultimately, knowing that your worth is unbreakable allows you to move through life with confidence and inner peace. You are no longer at the mercy of the ups and downs of the world around you because you stand as a pillar of unshakable value. Your worth isn't determined by your circumstances, and no one can take that away from you. When you realize this, you reclaim your power and become free to live a life that reflects your true worth. Number 4. Avoidance of vulnerability. One of the greatest barriers to deep connection and personal growth is the avoidance of vulnerability. Vulnerability is often seen as a weakness, a place of potential harm, or something to be feared. However, the truth is that vulnerability is not only a source of strength, but it is also the gateway to meaningful relationships and authentic self-expression. When you avoid being vulnerable, you are essentially avoiding the opportunity to connect on a deeper level with others, as well as with yourself. It's easy to put up walls around your heart and your emotions as a defense mechanism, especially when you've been hurt in the past. However, these walls, while they may protect you in the short term, actually prevent you from experiencing the richness of life and the depth of human connection. When you constantly shield yourself from vulnerability, you are also preventing yourself from being fully seen, fully understood, and fully loved. The irony is that true intimacy and meaningful relationships can only flourish when there is an openness to vulnerability. If you refuse to let others in, if you avoid sharing your fears, desires, and insecurities, how can you expect to form the kinds of connections that nurture you and help you grow? Avoiding vulnerability also means you are avoiding the opportunity for personal growth. Growth is often painful. It's about confronting your fears, your limitations, and your insecurities. And this cannot happen if you are always putting on a facade, pretending to have it all together, or hiding your true self from the world. The act of being vulnerable is an invitation to learn more about who you are, what you value, and where you still need healing. It's about embracing imperfections and recognizing that they don't make you any less worthy or capable. Vulnerability allows you to show up as your true self, without the masks you hide behind, and to stand tall in the knowledge that you are enough, even when you're not perfect. The Stoic philosophy supports this view by teaching that true strength comes not from shielding yourself from discomfort, but from facing it head-on with courage and resilience. It is in these moments of discomfort, when you allow yourself to feel, to express, and to be vulnerable, that you discover what you're truly made of. In relationships, the avoidance of vulnerability leads to a superficial connection, one that is grounded in fear and guardedness rather than authenticity and trust. You may find yourself constantly holding back, afraid to share your true thoughts or emotions, for fear of being rejected, misunderstood, or judged. This creates a cycle of emotional distance, where both parties remain stuck in their own worlds, unable to connect in any meaningful way. To break this cycle, it's essential to learn how to embrace vulnerability in a healthy way. This doesn't mean dumping your emotions on others or seeking constant validation. It means learning to be honest about your feelings, to share your struggles without shame, and to ask for support when you need it. It also means having the courage to open up, to love deeply, and to let yourself be seen, knowing that it's okay if you don't have all the answers, or if you're not always strong. The power of vulnerability is that it allows others to see your humanity, and in return, it encourages them to do the same. When you embrace vulnerability, you break free from the constraints of fear and insecurity. You allow yourself to be fully present in your own life, and you invite others to join you in that space. And in doing so, you begin to experience the beauty of true connection, one that is not based on perfection, but on mutual understanding, trust, and empathy. Vulnerability is not a weakness. It is a powerful tool that helps you build the life and relationships you truly want. It is the key to unlocking deeper love, greater fulfillment, and the most authentic version of yourself. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you discover that the world is not as scary as you once thought, and that the people who are truly meant to be in your life will love you not in spite of your vulnerability, but because of it. Number 5. The push-pull dynamic. The push-pull dynamic is a manipulative and confusing cycle that often leaves individuals feeling emotionally drained and uncertain about their relationships. At its core, this dynamic is about intermittent emotional closeness and distance. One moment, you feel like you're the center of someone's world, and the next, you're left in the cold, wondering what went wrong. This back and forth can be exhilarating at first, as it often mimics the intense feelings of attraction and excitement that come with the highs of emotional connection. However, over time, the push-pull dynamic starts to feel more like a mental roller coaster rather than a meaningful relationship. It's like being caught in a game that you didn't sign up for, where the rules are constantly shifting and the goalposts keep moving. You find yourself chasing affection, desperately trying to decode mixed signals, and questioning your worth as the person you care about fluctuates between warmth and distance. In this dynamic, one person, typically the person playing the game, will push the other away, only to pull them back in when it feels convenient or when they crave attention. This leaves the other party feeling unsure, caught in a state of emotional whiplash. One minute, you're receiving all the attention, affection, and validation you could want, and the next, it's like you've disappeared off the face of the earth. It's easy to become trapped in this cycle because the moments of closeness create an emotional high that you crave, making you more likely to accept the push-pull behavior, even if it leaves you feeling confused and unappreciated. The push-pull dynamic often exploits the desire for validation, playing on the emotional highs and lows to keep you coming back for more. What makes this dynamic even more dangerous is that it's often wrapped in the guise of love, affection, or desire, masking the underlying manipulation at play. You start to believe that the highs are worth the lows, that the rare moments of attention or affection are proof of love, even though the person pulling away isn't giving you the stability or consistency that genuine love provides. The issue is that the push-pull dynamic isn't about genuine love or respect. It's about control. The person at the helm is not interested in building a deep, stable connection, but in playing with your emotions to feel validated, powerful, or in control of the situation. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that if you try harder, if you chase them more, or if you change yourself to fit their moods, you'll finally get the consistency and attention you want. But this only strengthens the power they have over you and perpetuates the cycle. The more you chase, the further they pull away, and the further they pull away, the more desperate you become for the validation they seem to dangle just out of reach. This dynamic leaves you in a constant state of doubt and insecurity, unsure of your value and whether or not you are truly being loved or simply used for emotional manipulation. To break free from the push-pull dynamic, it's crucial to recognize that this is not a healthy relationship pattern. Healthy relationships are built on trust, communication, and stability, not games, manipulation, or uncertainty. When you stand firm in your own self-worth and stop chasing affection from someone who is unwilling to offer you consistency, you break free from this emotionally draining cycle. The Stoic mindset can help here. A Stoic does not give in to the emotional highs and lows that others create. Instead, they remain centered, unshaken, and focused on their own purpose and values. The Stoic understands that true love and connection come not from chasing after someone's approval, but from standing firm in their own truth, knowing their worth, and never lowering their standards for anyone. In the end, the push-pull dynamic isn't about love, it's about control. And once you recognize it for what it is, you can break free from the cycle, reclaim your emotional independence, and invest in relationships that are grounded in mutual respect, consistency, and genuine affection.